regular maintenance time for the winter steam locomotive, and we got the 1225 in here. The 126 is going to be leaving tomorrow, and maybe I'll give a video of that happening when they bring in the semi. I'll see what happens, but it all depends on how much we get cleaned off outside here. There's a bunch of snow out there. But anyway, steam locomotive maintenance. We pulled the tender off the locomotive, and we're starting to work on the things that were giving us problems during the North Pole Express run. We got Jim up there trying to connect a pipe, and we're all about to go to lunch now, so as soon as you're ready, Jim, we'll all get going here.
Okay.
So anyway, we're also trying to fix the stoker, which jammed up on us on the last MPE runs of the year, and we think what it was is there was a jam in the pistons, because we were able to clean out the shaft here for the screw. You disconnect it here. Here's the other part that goes in there, and this is actually the rod that connects to the stoker engine itself and goes back in there and runs the gear that runs the screw. And a bunch of the coal had powdered up and become more like cement in there, so when it jammed up, it wasn't going to break that. So let's see here. You go inside here, inside the tube, you can kind of see, yeah, down in there where there might have been a problem. It was right there at the bowl where the elbow forms. So that's where we had a bunch of problems there. But now we're focused on putting the engine itself back together, because what we found was one of the pieces was missing, like it had come loose and fallen off in there, and we think that one of the pistons in here might have actually hit the back end and came out of timing, and was one of the reasons that was not working, plus the jam up in there and all that. So we made new rings for it, which are going to be placed on. That's pretty much the last thing, and hopefully the stoker will be able to run. We can actually run it on air to test it, so hopefully in the next couple of weeks here. We still got to do a boiler wash. It was way too cold to do one when we shut it down, so we had to wait on that one. It's going to be close to 50 next week, so a good time for a thaw to get that done. We still haven't painted on here yet, but you can see where there might have been some water coming down when we heated it up, and we fixed any of those leaks, but we just got to clean it off so we can finish the lagging and jacketing, which comes with regular maintenance. As you take some of it off, you lose some. When we had the ice storm, the branches came down, hit all around here, so that's why that insulation, because it was uncovered, looks all ratty like that. As you can see here on the floor, there's a lot of insulation here on the floor that we had to pull off, along with all these twigs and branches that got stuck in it from the ice storm. So now it's pretty much all cleaned off, and we're going to clean it off a little bit more before we get the lagging on it. We got to do the boiler wash next week, so there's that. I'm going to show you up top what we did up there. So now I'm at the front end, and what we did last week was we opened up the little door here, and we took the vacuums and we chipped away and cleaned out the smoke box of ash, which if you refer to the putting it all together video that I did back in October, that you will see the plate that goes in there. There's a diamond plate and a screw that goes up through the bottom of the smoke box that holds it in, and that's actually where most of the ash collected. It wasn't in the back where the tube plate is, or the superheaters, or even the nozzle where all the smoke goes out, but it was actually here in the front. It had gathered after a lot of it had gone through the plates that make up the spark arrestor. So we got up all in there with the vacuum and cleaned it out as good as we could for right now, unless we were to take it all apart, which I don't recommend at the moment, but we really wouldn't have to, but we had to reseal it. Same seal, you just have to be a little careful. One of the dogs on here is missing, which are these flaps here. That's what they call them. Let's see, yeah, they're right there. That one's missing because it has to be re-welded. It broke in half. I guess someone over-tightened it. Not exactly sure how that happened, but I guess it happens every now and then. I still gotta clean off the headlight to As you can see, the lens here is kind of dirty. It looks like some soot and mud got underneath and on the inside. And that's just basically untighten this part here, and then open this. See there, and then like that. So looking at that, you can see it's kind of blurry in there. So I'm going to have to get the glass cleaner and clean that out too. Another small project. You see the headlight in there. That's actually a newer headlight. We burned it out one time because we turned up the dynamo way too much and it blew out all the lights, and we had to replace them. Not an easy task, but yeah, we get it done. So tighten that back up. Okay, I'll probably have to clean up the number plates too. But anyway, we gotta clean everything off before we do that trip in March. But hopefully by then we'll have everything on it. When the ice storm came, we ran it that last time. We had to take the class lights and the flags off. The flags still aren't back. They're probably still in the car. Don't really need those. Lights take care of most of that for you. So we gotta get a broom up here and do them on the walkway because we keep pulling branches down. We still gotta get the cover plate up here. Again, the cover plate, again with the regular maintenance, you take that down to access the hatch here for the superheaters. And we also, in order to clean out the boiler, we took off the cap for the steam dome, which you can see has been pushed across the boards here onto the sandbox. So there's that, and show you how bad the water is around here. I'll have to get a light to show you in there, show you how bad that is and why we need water treatment for these locomotives, especially out here in Michigan. So, get a little closer look here. This is just how bad the damage is from the branches that you gotta look out for. This is why you usually don't leave it just lagged. You need to get sheet metal on that like it is right here, which also needs to be painted. So more regular maintenance that you gotta keep up with, and every now and then. The whole reason for the sheet metal is so you can take that off, and then you take off these sections of the insulation to access the boiler if there was any problems. You just need to do in sections. You don't have to take off the whole thing. We're trying to make it even simpler now by putting in even smaller sections. As you can see, because we haven't painted this part here, just primered it, it's kind of worn off. So we're going to get that covered before the weather gets to it anymore. So most of the work that we're doing up here is on the turret. We had to take the turret apart in pieces to access any of the leaks on the pipes that we found as we were running, and some pieces that weren't working quite right. So we're going to redo them and see how they work this time, because we'd like to get this covered with its cover, which is a big shield here that actually goes down to this point here, and that's the big box you see in the front of the cab. That's actually outside and needs to be repaired, but we have to get it up here first to make that repair. It's just a few welds here and there to hold it back together. So that's what happens up here. Now on top, looking at the steam dome, and if you remember the update videos for the rebuild, climbed in here, it was all clean before, and it's still pretty clean now. The one problem is, when you run water here in Michigan, it leaves behind a residue after you empty it. And that's this calcium buildup right here, and it's not good for you. That's why we gotta have a boiler wash. Steve climbed in here to try and fix the not the safeties, but the low water alarm was leaking some of the way, and he had to climb in here to try and find out where it was leaking in there. And so he's left a trail of see these black marks. That's the actual pipe. The calcite on top is the white stuff. See, they were painted shiny black before they were put in the locomotive. So you can see just how bad the water is around this area. See, if you go like West Virginia, up in the mountains, maybe Colorado, they don't have this problem there, but they have to use a lot of water treatment to keep it from getting like this. We do have a lot of water treatment here, which explains the high cost of running a locomotive like this in this area. You can see there's not as much buildup here on top where the rim is, where the dome meets the top of the boiler. That's probably because that's not where the actual water goes up to. That's just where the steam is. The steam, because you're heating it up, the water, the chemicals that are in it will not go with the steam itself. It separates and it stays with the liquid. So when the water is drained out, this is what you're left with. And looking down the steam pipe here, that's why that looks that's a lot cleaner than what it looks like inside the actual boiler. There's still some rust spots in there because we didn't really try and get at that when we did the rebuild. It wasn't too bad, and it really ain't too bad now. So we're going to leave it as is, and we're going to put the cap back on it once we're done with the boiler wash. So it's in pretty good shape. And then coming down here, see, here's the jacketing cover for the dome, and that'll go on and match up with the sheet metal down here that makes up the rest of the jacket. So there's that, and there's the smokestack, which I would show you. I don't know if you can probably see down from the nozzle actually, but I'll do that next. Now I'm up at the very front of the locomotive, and I was down there. Actually, this is a couple weeks later. I actually did the down smokestack thing a couple weeks ago, and you couldn't see it, so I'm redoing it. And I got the better flashlight now. And here's a smokestack, and you look down here. And if you look down here, this is what you see. So remember all that stuff that I said during the rebuild, it's all in there. When you're looking down there, that space down there, the one with the X crossing thing, is the top of the nozzle, which is where the steam shoots out from the cylinders after it's done. It comes right up here through the smokestack, and all the smoke just kind of wafts out of the tubes, which are back in here. And I don't know if you can see them any better if I go down here, but yeah, kind of. You can't really see the ends of anything though, when the superheaters are coming out of the tubes. But yeah, the smoke just kind of wafts its way out of here until the steam starts shooting out of the nozzle down there and out the smokestack, and creates a draft on the fire and pulls the smoke and the heat out this way. So that way it helps heat the boiler a little more. You can see the front a little bit better though. And this grating thing here is the spark arrestor, and it's basically a bunch of panels like Venetian blinds, but they're little metal bars, and that's what keeps large chunks of cinders and sparks from making its way out the smokestack. When the engine's moving, sparks are pretty much put out by the steam that's running out of the nozzle, but otherwise it's just kind of wafting its way towards the front. Usually it's going about 100 miles per hour by itself, and it hits that, and eventually just works its way up here in the smokestack to get out. But this ring here that you see coming out of this pipe is actually the blower. And remember in the update videos I did, we were putting it all back together. We saw this ring outside before they put everything inside the smoke box. And yeah, basically what happens is, well, when you're in the house here, you just hook up the, see the outside of this pipe here. That one there is actually the blower pipe, and when the engines run here, the steam is flowing through that pipe and into the smoke box through the extension and around that, and it's blowing the steam up the smokestack to create the draft on the fire. But you only want to use that really when you're not running the engine, when you're just stopped or something. Sometimes you keep it on just for a little back pressure coming from the smoke box to keep the smoke out of the cab. But you especially want to do that when you're stopped to keep it from backing up into the cab. You don't want that. But otherwise, when you're here in the house, you don't want to be using too much steam because you're just sitting here. So instead, they hook up the valve on the outside here to air, which is, they open that red valve there, and there's a there's a valve on the bottom underneath the catwalk. They hook up to the air system in the building and use that to blow through the blower and allow the gases and smoke to exit. So that's what all that is down there. And you can see how it's kind of white or shiny around the nozzle. And really, that's the cleanest part, except that it's got a little bit of deposit on it from some shale that was left over, because the coal that we had wasn't as good as the last week as we wanted it to be. The first few weekends was really good, and we want to get some more of that if we can. We're probably going to have to break up some more of it, because a lot of it was going in chunky, so that's one of our problems. You can see where it's kind of brown there around the nozzle and the blower, and that's the cleanest part. You see a little bit of ash, but we got most of it cleaned out. I had to go under the floor, which is surrounding the nozzle, and basically underneath those plates there to get access to the back where the superheaters are when we have the door open on the front end. That's how you get in there and you check it all out. And nothing up here has changed really, so we still got to get the cover plate on here over the superheater access, and we got to redo this jacketing portion here. It's held together by this wire here, and it's kind of moved out of place. It should actually go underneath this front plate here that's covering the pipe access, the steam pipe access for the feed wire here, which gives a more streamlined design instead of having a big pipe on the outside. So there's an indentation in the actual smoke box to hide that, and this panel here covers that. But this piece should be actually underneath that, and it's kind of moved even further out of place here because it was hitting branches in the ice storm that we had the last weekend, and so now it's gotten to the point where it's uncovering some of the insulation. It really should go past this point back here. It needs to be a little, it's really too small. We almost need another piece to get around these pipes here in front of the smokestack and around this side to where it's connected to this piece here, and that piece needs to be bigger also, really. That's what helps keep things out from around the smokestack. But okay, other than that, we gotta start doing the jacketing pretty soon. But first, we gotta hook up the tender again, so that way it'll be ready for the boiler wash when we do that in the next couple weeks to clean out the boiler and the tender of scale. Okay. In the cab now, and I'd like to show you what we've been doing. Got the light here, kind of lighting up some things. Been addressing the wire glasses, cleaning them out, and still no jacking on the back end either. We had to look for any leaks that might have popped up during that time and sealed them shut. Mostly on the outside of the boiler though, on top where you couldn't see them. So those have all been fixed, and let's see. Pretty much been cleaning up in here. Well, we dropped a light recently and made a little mess, so gotta get that all cleaned up. But we've been working inside the firebox, so we haven't been able to do that. And what we did in here is we've been trying to fix the grates so they work a little better. They've been catching on each other. And we come back past the pot here. And, okay. So what am I talking about? I'm talking about these down here. And the grates are all these little fingers that hold together. And you got the main ones that don't move right here in line. And on this side too. And I got the ones on the back wall. And on the sides. And all these ones go in the forward direction here are the ones that move. And basically we've been trying to make them so they're not catching as much on each other or on the stationary ones when we've been shaking them. And let's see here. So we got the arch brick up here on the other side of the thermic siphons, which are these metal things here, which allow for the water in the boiler to move about and circulate better between the front and the back and the bottom and the top of the boiler. And we got the arch tubes here, which also allow for more of that too, and also another spot to put the arch bricks over. So you got them on the other side here, a little bit further in, and you can see the tube sheet back there. And
We've got it all cleaned out back there past the bricking. I'm going to climb in here a little bit further. Oops, don't want that. Okay, so you can see the bricks, how they kind of wear away a little bit from the fire going on. And as the gases and the ashes are coming up from there and then heading on back around them to get through the tube sheet to the front of the engine and the smokestack. And it just kind of chips away at them, and eventually got to replace them. These are going to be taken out during the annual when we have that later this summer after Train Expo. So those will all be inspected at that time to make sure they don't get any worse. Well, not much worse. Basically, the annual is where you take everything apart and inspect the engine normally every year. And let's see. I might have to shut this down and get a better look in there. Okay, so now I'm actually in the firebox, and I thought I'd show you the very front end here. What I was talking about. There's the tube sheet, and the barge bricks on top. And you can see where the ashes collect in the combustion chamber, which is an extension of the firebox where there's no fuel, just the hot gases going across the top and helping to heat the boiler. And we actually accidentally found a pipe that was inside the tubes that we don't know how that got in there, but probably when someone shoved in the superheaters, which you can see inside the tubes there, the very ends of them. And they should all look like that. There should be nothing inside them. Just when you clean out the ash, that's all you should see. The smaller ones are ash only, but the big ones have the tubes inside, the superheater tubes inside there. And basically, after each time you shut it down, they come in here and you take out the sand and the ash that's accumulated in here and in between the bricks. And then you swab all these off. Make sure you get down to like the lowest layer of ash, like kind of here it's chipping away. But otherwise it's black from the one coating of ash that it has. So you want to just swab it off there to the point that you can see it again, basically. Make sure there's no cracks or anything here on the walls or in any of the bolts. And during the annual, we'll come in here and really give it a cleaning and then fill it with water to make sure that none of the telltale holes are leaking any water. Otherwise, that bolt would have to be replaced. So I got John on the outside. Say hi, John.
How's it going?
And he's going to shake the grates there using that bar there to move the floor. And he's going to shake this front one here for us. Give it a go, John. Okay. So as you can see, he's moving the one bar that's closest to the door to shake the grates at the very front and middle. And basically what happens is the coal moves and shifts, and the ashes fall down into the ash pan that's below the grates. And that's how you help get air to the fire and knock out all the bad stuff. Hey John, you want to move the let's see if he can move the ones here on this side, because you can do them from the front. And he's got them locked in this position here, actually. You can see you can let it fall down a little bit over there. Hey, John, can you move the other ones, the ones toward the back? So he's going to shift it over there and try and get one of these up here. Okay, there we go. Now, back and forth. And basically what we did was we ground down some of the edges on these to make it more work better, because they were catching on each other and that wasn't good. So that's what we done. So basically the ashes and little clinkers fall in between here and into the pan, down into the hopper where they're dumped on the ash stack. And that's basically how it works. Okay, John. Okay, I'm going to get out of here now. So, say hi to the outside world. Hey, John.
Hey, how's it going?
Okay.